Next, we have Mr. Mark Gorenberg. Mr. Mark is a venture capitalist and founder of Zeta Venture Partners, which is focused on investing in early-stage companies in data and analytics. He currently serves as a board member of Domo, Follow Analytics, Inside Sales, and OptiMind. Previously, he was the managing director of Hummer Winball Venture Partners, which he joined in 1990 when the firm began investing in its first fund. Over the time, he has served as a board member for numerous successful startups, including Omniture, AdForce, Dynamics, and Scopus Technologies. Earlier, Mr. Gorenberg was with Sun Microsystems, where he managed emerging new media areas and was a member of the original Spark Station team. He currently serves as the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, PCAST, the Board of Trustees for Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, the Board of the National Venture Capital Association, and the FCC's Technology Advisory Council. I mean, he doesn't sleep, by the way. As a member of PCAST in 2012, Mr. Gorenberg chaired the report to the President called Realizing the Full Potential of Government-Held Spectrum to Spur Economic Growth. He graduated from MIT and received a master's degree from the University of Minnesota and Stanford University. We are extremely lucky to have him and the right person to really get these things rolling here for the workshop today. Mark, please.
Is this on? Yeah, that's great. Rangan, thank you very much for that very generous introduction. It's quite an honor to be here today. Special thank yous to Byron, to Dennis, to Wendy, to Joe for the program, great program they put together. It's quite an honor to be on this panel with people like Tom Power, who actually is, I think, the leading voice in the White House today for the movement that's going forward, and truly the architect of the Presidential Memorandum that came out about a year after the PCAST report, and also here with Dale, who has put life into this field, was a huge voice behind the PCAST report, and has been a policy advocate for a long time about receiver management frameworks, which I'm sure you'll probably talk about after this.
Actually, I wasn't.
You weren't. Okay, well, we'll ask him some questions and get him out there. The PCAST report was truly a labor of love. We spent about 9 months on that. A lot of people in this room were very actively involved in the report. It's pretty thick, and you'll see the list of names. And I would like to ask people who were involved, at least they would raise their hands to get recognition from this group. Please, they truly deserve it. Thank you. So as you know, the report came out in July of 2012 on the notion that about creating really the first spectrum superhighways. The notion, if you want to use it by example, of the Roosevelt administration that came out with the idea of creating an interstate highway system, about sharing the roads, that was implemented in the Eisenhower administration. Here we looked more at the concept of spectrum 100 years after the sinking of the Titanic to say, is there a better road? Is there a way to do spectrum sharing? And we felt that spectrum sharing was the only way, and particularly dynamic spectrum sharing, was the only way to provide the resources to meet the problem that we were dealing with. The dense usage will drive the idea of new technologies, and a large thing that drove us was the idea of innovating. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a lot of the ideas at the break during lunchtime that people are working on. And also the idea of building out from coverage to building in for capacity. With we framed some core ideas. The leading piece of it was, of course, something that went beyond the idea of geographical databases, the idea of, we call it a spectrum access system, 3-tier system where you have the incumbents, you have the ability to have licensed spectrum with a priority, and then, of course, general access spectrum use, which in a sense took its roots from unlicensed spectrum but had the idea of having a license associated with it. We also put in the ideas of putting in a receiver management framework, the idea of creating a spectrum policy team in the White House that brought together various factions and also could work with the agencies, the NTIA, with the FCC, et cetera, to move that forward. We looked at the idea of incentives, as Tom talked about, trying to come up with a spectrum currency system that would motivate the agencies to move forward, and also one where you would advance the spectrum relocation fund more efficiency-oriented so that the people could be rewarded for making their systems more spectrum efficient-oriented. Those are just some of the sort of basic ideas that we put together. I think that some of the evolution has been very fast. As you know, as we talked about, the PM came out in June of last year. Rulemaking has gone on at the FCC now in the 3.5 band, which was started by a speech by Julius Janikowski in Stanford in September of 2012, and then the commissioners voted unanimously in December of 2012 to move forward with that rulemaking. That's undergone a lot of work. John Leibowitz particularly deserves a lot of credit in the FCC for moving that forward. And it's had a lot of comments, but those comments seem to be converging, and that's converged around a speech that Chairman Tom Wheeler gave, of course, on Monday at Brookings, where he capped it off by saying that he would circulate to his fellow commissioners detailed proposal rulemaking to make the PCAST vision a reality. They designated the 3.5 gigahertz band as the innovation band. And the four tenets of that he talked about was first, proposal for the three-tier system. We talked about second, have a highly flexible band plan, avoiding the trap of balkanizing spectrum into subbands. Third, the proposal to have flexible usage. Clearly, small cell is motivating a lot of this. But it will be a number of uses of applications. And finally, to look at the economic incentives. And a couple of things that I find that are very exciting is, one, that there's a lot of work going on by Jason Furman and his organization who's the chairman of Economic Advisors, on the idea of creating what you would say is short-term, smaller geography licenses, the economics around that. How do you look at that from a budgeting standpoint going forward? How do you make that a reality? And the other is the notion of moving forward, as we talked about in the report, with a model city. And that's something I know that Tom is working very closely with. The idea that you will have a place where you can essentially go beyond testing, but actually implement all these different technologies together, see them in action, see them working against the various government systems. And then the third thing I find very exciting is some of the research or some of the work going on to look beyond the 3.5 band. The 3.5 band, which is very exciting to me, is one that the NTIA, to their credit, brought forward very early on. It did not have a receptive ear because it was really looked at initially from the idea of more traditional, tower and not small cell techniques. But as that moved forward under the PCAST concept, that became very exciting to people, and that becomes kind of the petri dish sharing with naval radar systems. But there, we looked at the idea of the 2.7 to the 3.7 band, and there's a lot of work going on there now to try to look for the next set of bands, and also interest in areas above that, like the 3.7 to the 4.2 and the C band. But there's no reason why these frequencies can't be extremely valuable, particularly in the sharing arrangement. We've gotten great usage out of the 2.4. We've gotten great usage out of the 5 gigahertz. This seems very fruitful. And also, if you look out 10 years from now and some of the work that I'm doing in my day job, I think 10 years from now, cellular, the use of wireless spectrum, cellular the way we know it today, will not be the dominant factor in the use of wireless. The Internet of Things, which is one sort of marketing moniker, we call it cyber physical systems, 50 billion devices, frankly, all using wireless technology, creating huge amounts of data. Turbines by General Electric create 7 times more data than Twitter. So that the use of all this data in wireless applications is going to be huge. And as you go out, this will become a very big force. And these frequencies are just perfect for a lot of the new applications that we're talking about, and particularly with sharing techniques. So with that, I'll pass the baton over to Dale. But again, thank all of you for your work, for your innovative work going forward. The very first endorser of the PCAST report was a group called the WIN Forum, 150 innovative companies. We couldn't be more grateful for the support that we've gotten from the community.